Hello there, Loklin66 here for the Empire Strikes Block staff team. Today I'm going to be doing a short tutorial on how to make a warp drive ship. Warp drive ships are important for progression on Empire Strikes Block. They allow you to go to other planets where you can build bases, do quests, stuff like that. So one of the first things you're going to need is you're going to need this group here. You're going to need a ship controller, ship core, and an advanced computer. These are all things that you can buy with the starter money that you get from Oozle's quest. And they are what will actually make your ship a ship. The next thing you'll need is going to need some power blocks here. So you can find any real suitable power source that generates a sizable amount of RF or EU. I would recommend, especially for beginners, to go with a big reactor because they are not going to explode and they're relatively easy to understand how to make. The only requirement is that you head to Kessel to be able to get baradium, also known as yellowite. One of the most important things you'll need is you will need air gear. So a basic air generator will take the power from your power source and it will turn it into air blocks that will pressurize the inside of your ship. It will also allow you to refill your air tank. In order to use said air tank, you will need a space-breathing helmet. And you can see it's space-breathing because of that blue space-breathing thing underneath it. If you look up in NEI, space-breathing, it will show you all of the space-breathing helmets we have. The other thing that you will also need is, well, you don't need the electro jetpack, but it is very, very helpful in order to navigate around space outside of your ship and to be able to, get back to it if you fall out of it. In order for yourself to be airtight, similar to your ship, you're going to need a full set of armor. You do not need any specific type of armor. You can do anything. This could be leather armor if I wanted it to. As long as I have a space-breathing helmet and a full set of armor, I will be able to breathe in space. And last but not least, you will need something to build your ship out of. Hull blocks are relatively hard, relatively explosive resistant, and will defend decently well against lasers. And you can buy them at spawn, or you can craft them for relatively cheap. Energy air shields also function as doors, basically, that you can just walk through. You can also just use straight up doors from Malice's doors or vanilla. So let's get started building. The first thing you should do is you should try and build, well, an actual ship. Remember that when you're on a planet, the size of your ship is limited. So you should try and make sure that the ship you're building is not huge. So don't try and make something like a Venator or a Star Destroyer on a planet. Just make a small ship, go up into space, and then there you'll be able to build a ship of just about any size. I believe the maximum in all directions for a ship is 300. So 300 on the X-axis, 300 on the Y-axis, and 300 on the Z-axis is the maximum size of your ship. Here I'm just going to make a little box to put everything in. And I'm going to put the reactor on top of it because it's not going to fit inside. And all this reactor will do is just give us power. You would most likely want to build a larger ship and make sure that you can fit your reactor inside so that you can refill it to resupply your air with power. Because if you don't have power, you will not have air. There we go. I'm just going to fill this up and start it up so that we have some power. And here I have some cables, which I'm going to use to move our power. Actually, just going to do this. And over here, I'm going to put our air generator. And at the top, you can see the RF up here. You can see 5,755, it's at 5,759. It's just about full with power, which means it will function. If it does not have that power in there, it means it is not receiving power. Either it is not connected to a cable, or the cable does not have power. And you will need to change that. And when we construct our ship amalgamation here, you're going to put down your ship controller, the ship core, with that green arrow facing towards the ship controller. That green arrow indicates where the front of the ship is. So this, where I'm facing right now, that is forward for the ship. And with the ship controller, anybody who right-clicks it will be added to the ship crew. And now that you have this built, make sure you connect power to that core to make sure you have power in your ship core. Just right-click it, and it'll tell you how much power is left in it. And if you open up the computer by right-clicking it, you can put in the name of your ship. I'm just going to call this one test. And now you are in the ship menu. So we're right now on home, which you can get back to by pressing 0. There's nothing to do here. Controls here gives us details about our ship and allows us to do several things with it. Going to 2 shows our crew. We can use this to summon our crew to our ship, which allows them to teleport a short distance to the ship core. And navigation, which is not implemented at all on this server, is number 3. You'll probably spend most of your time in number 1, controls. So the first thing we're going to do after building our ship, making sure we have everything ready, is we're going to hit I for dimensions, and we can enter in the ship dimensions. So this is the distance from the ship core to the edges of your ship. So ship core, 1, 2. So front is going to be 2. Right, 1, 2. Up. This one will be a little bit harder. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Back, it's going to be 1, 2, 3. Left is going to be 2. Down is going to be 1. And in order to check the dimensions of our ship, we can shift right-click the ship core, and it will show our bounding box. And looking at it, it looks like everything on our ship is contained within the bounding box, which means we should be able to move just fine. It will take stray blocks with it. So if this was, say this was some terrain and the terrain was right here, it will take this block with it. There are very few blocks that warp drive will not be able to move. A couple are bedrock and IC2 safes. Both of those are not able to be moved by ship. It will give you an error and it will not move the ship. So the next thing we could do is we can go to movement on M. Oh, and also actually, these ship dimensions, you can always reset them. So I can go to controls and I can go to dimensions and I can set this to something bigger like 5 if I want to. And now you'll watch this become bigger. You can change them at any point. So if you have a really large ship and you can't count the exact number, you can just estimate it and then get more accurate after you activate the bounding box. All right. Now if we hit M to go to movement, now we can move. In order to get our ship to space, we have to move so that our ship will be above Y256, which is the height limit. So all we're going to do is we're not going to move forward. We're going to move upwards. Oh, 67. Upwards. And right and left. Nothing. And no rotation. Rotation I would not recommend messing with. It tends to screw up with most other mods. So I would not rotate your ship. It usually throws an error anyway and says it can't rotate because of a specific block. But as you can see how we moved, the movement is based on 3 axes. And you can hear the sound. And now we're in space. And you can see the air generator is making air, filling up the ship, and pressurizing it. But movement in warp drive is based on 3 axes. Forward, which is determined by the direction that it is facing, that arrow is facing, so that's forward. If we want to go backwards, we simply put in a negative value. So if I wanted to go backwards, I could go negative 100, and it would move 100 blocks backwards. Up and down first. Up is positive, down is negative, and right and left. Right is positive, left is negative. And again, that is based off of the direction that your ship core is facing. So, forward, right, left. And station doesn't have anything. And every time you jump, you will need to wait for your ship core to cool down and for it to warm up before making a jump. And once you are in space, you'll see a lot of asteroids, most likely. You can mine them. They are filled with various resources, as well as some of them can be filled with valuable resources like iridium, which can only be found in relatively large amounts up here in those nether asteroids. So the other thing to remember is that we have a /home system. So if I was to set my home here, and I was to move my ship, my home would not move with the ship. It would stay here, and since it's over nothing, it would be invalid, and I wouldn't be able to go to my home. Same thing if I set my home here, and somebody else moved my ship and stole it, I would not be able to teleport back to my ship. So you want to try and maybe hide your ship a little bit, or put it somewhere where you don't think people would be able to find it very easily. All right. The other thing to remember is that if you fly your ship into an asteroid, it will damage the ship. It will destroy parts of the ship. That damage can be reduced with the hull blocks, which is why it's helpful to use them. But it would be best to just try and not fly into them. The easiest way to do that is to simply fly really high up, as high up as you possibly can. It would reduce the chance that you run into an asteroid, as they do not spawn above something like Y220 or something like that. The last thing to remember is your air tank. Your air tank, when you're outside of a pressurized zone, will decrease over time. It will take durability damage. All you have to do to refill it is right-click on an air generator, and it will refill it instantaneously as long as the air generator has power. So if it's unpowered, you're not going to be able to refill your air. There's not going to be any pressurized air in here, which is why keeping a steady power source is very important while in space. And this electric jetpack is also very important, because what it allows you to do is, as you can see when I'm out here, I float. There's no gravity unless I stand on top of blocks. What the jetpack allows you to do is hold shift and you can go downwards. And of course, since it is jetpack, it will also allow you to fly like that. However, the electric jetpack does not work beyond a certain height. As you can see, I'm slowing down. So either keep your ship a little bit lower when you're exploring, or make sure your home is set on your ship so you can teleport back to it. That pretty much concludes the little tutorial on the basics of ship and space. There are other videos that will go more in depth on some of these things, such as power, navigation, and travel. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you enjoy playing the Empire Strikes block. Remember, if you have any questions, you can head to the Discord and make a ticket, or just ask the community, and people will most likely be happy to help. All right. Good travels.